8 red cards, 27 matches, 10 days. That number, 8, does not sound like much on its own. But here is the context that makes it one of the most remarkable statistics produced at any World Cup in the last 2 decades. The 2018 World Cup in Russia, 64 matches. For red cards, the entire tournament. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar, 64 matches. For red cards, the entire tournament. Combined, 2 World Cups, 128 matches, 8 years of elite international football, produced exactly the same number of red cards as this tournament has produced in its first 10 days. The 2026 World Cup is breaking records. Not the beautiful kind, not the goal-scored kind, the disciplinary kind. And the reasons why are more interesting and more alarming than the number itself. To fully appreciate what is happening right now at this World Cup, you need a sense of what the historical normal looks like. Historically, the highest number of red cards in a single FIFA World Cup remains 28, recorded in the 2006 edition, which included 9 straight red cards. 28. That was the 2006 World Cup in Germany, a tournament remembered as one of the most ill-disciplined in the sport's history. The standout match was Portugal versus the Netherlands in the round of 16, where referee Valentin Ivanov showed 4 red cards and 16 yellow cards in a single game, a match that became known as the Battle of Nuremberg. The 2010 World Cup saw 17 red cards, while 2014 witnessed 10 dismissals. So the trajectory since 2006 has been consistently downward. 2010, 17. 2014, 10. 2018, 4. 2022, 4. The game has been getting cleaner. Referees have been getting more consistent. Players have been adapting. The trend over 15 years pointed firmly toward a more disciplined World Cup. And then 2026 arrived. The current tally of 8 red cards is double the 4 red cards recorded in each of the previous 2 World Cups. Of the 8 dismissals so far in the ongoing tournament, 6 have been straight red cards. 6 straight red cards out of 8 total. Not second yellows for accumulated fouls, straight reds. Dismissals for serious foul play, violent conduct, denial of goal-scoring opportunities, and, in one unprecedented case, covering a mouth during a confrontation with an opponent. This tournament has already reached the 2014 total of 10 dismissals within striking distance. It remains to be seen whether the number of red cards will go beyond 10, the most in 2014, and later 17, the most in 2010. With the group stage still ongoing and the knockout rounds to come, that trajectory is entirely possible. 8 red cards, 8 different moments, 8 different teams affected, and each one tells a slightly different story about why this World Cup is producing dismissals at a rate nobody anticipated. Here is every single one, and what it reveals about the state of this tournament. Match 1. Mexico versus South Africa. June 12th, opening game of the tournament. The World Cup was not even 90 minutes old before the first red card arrived. South Africa's Fefelo Sithole was shown a red card in their opening fixture against Mexico. Sithole took down Mexico's Brian Gutierrez just outside the box, earning a red card as the last line of defense between Gutierrez and the goalkeeper. A classic denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, the kind of red card that referees have been instructed to show without hesitation. Sithole went. South Africa played on with 10 men. But that was not the only dismissal in that match. South Africa also suffered with Themba Zwane receiving a red card in their opening fixture against Mexico. 2 red cards. 1 match. On the very first day of the tournament. The tone had been set before most of the world had even processed that the World Cup had started. Mexico's Cesar Montes was also dismissed late in their match against South Africa. 3 red cards. 1 game. The opening fixture of the 2026 FIFA World Cup produced more red cards than either the entire 2018 or 2022 tournaments. Qatar versus Canada. June 18th, Vancouver. Qatar saw itself go 2 men down in the second half of its Group B game against Canada after Asim Modibo picked up a red card after a tackle made on Ismail Kone, which led the Canadian midfielder suffering a scary injury on the field. Kone's left leg was placed in an air cast and was stretchered off. Qatar's Homam Ahmed was also sent off in their clash against Canada. 2 red cards for Qatar. 1 match. The same pattern as Mexico versus South Africa. a single game producing multiple dismissals. Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Switzerland. Bosnia and Herzegovina's Tarek Moramovic was shown a red card against Switzerland for a foul on Breel Imbolo near the edge of the penalty area, stopping a clear one-on-one chance. Another denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. Another dismissal under a framework that referees are clearly applying with zero tolerance. Paraguay versus Turkey. June 20th. Miguel Almiron was sent off right before halftime in Paraguay's match against Turkey after a VAR check determined that he said something while covering his mouth to an opposing player. The first red card in World Cup history for covering a mouth. A new rule, introduced specifically for this tournament, claiming its first victim. Paraguay played the entire second half with 10 men and somehow won anyway. Belgium versus Iran. June 21st. Nathan Noe was shown a straight red card in the 67th minute for his careless tackle on Iran striker Mehdi Taremi. Belgium, already struggling to break down an Iran side playing for their lives, went to 10 men. The match ended 0-0. Belgium's knockout round hopes suddenly look far more precarious. 8 red cards. 3 matches that each produced multiple dismissals. One historic first. One that changed the outcome of its match. And a pattern that nobody looking at the 2018 and 2022 World Cups could have predicted. So the natural question is, why? Why is this World Cup producing red cards at a rate twice as high as anything seen in the last 8 years? Is it the referees? The players? The new rules? The expanded format? The answer is all of the above, and one explanation from a former elite referee that, once you hear it, makes complete sense. Fox Sports Rules analyst Mark Clattenburg, a former Premier League and Champions League referee, weighed in on the increase. Players are well-behaved, but they're just making mistakes in and around the penalty area, and maybe a panic, Clattenburg said. Panic in the penalty area. That is the key phrase. At the World Cup, the stakes are so high, the margins so tight, that when an attacker breaks through, a defending player sometimes makes a split-second decision. Concede the foul, take the red card, stop the goal. Accept the punishment to prevent something worse. Players getting inside the penalty area and conceding the penalties are more than happy to commit a foul and commit a red card, knowing that they missed the next match. But now that they have 26 players on the roster, there are plenty of players to certainly cover those positions, Clattenburg added. That is the squad size explanation. In 2026, for the first time, World Cup squads were expanded from 23 players to 26. That means every team has 3 additional players available, which changes the calculus for a defender in the box facing an attacker one-on-one. At 23 players, a red card and suspension hits the squad harder. At 26, there is cover. There is a player waiting. The cost of the red card is lower. The new rules are also directly responsible for at least one dismissal. The mouth-covering rule, introduced after the Vinicius Jr. incident in the Champions League, produced Almiron's sending off in a way that has no precedent in World Cup history. It is a rule that referees are clearly applying, and players have not yet fully adjusted to the reality that gestures which have been routine for decades are now punishable by immediate dismissal. VAR's expanded role also plays a part. New for 2026, VAR can step in when a player is wrongly sent off for a second yellow card, meaning the review system is more active in the disciplinary process than ever before. What was once a referee's on-field decision is now subject to real-time video scrutiny, and officials are being flagged for incidents they might previously have waved away. More matches spread across a continent. More pressure per game. More at stake in each individual result with a 48-team group stage that leaves less margin for error. All of it combining to produce a tournament where the disciplinary environment is unlike anything seen in modern World Cup football. The group stage is not even finished. There are still matches to play before the round of 16 begins. And the current trajectory puts this tournament on course to become the most card-heavy World Cup since 2006. With the total already at 8, it remains to be seen whether the number of red cards will go beyond 10, the most in 2014, and later 17, the most in 2010. At the current rate, 17 is not an unreasonable projection. 28, the 2006 record, would require a dramatic further escalation, but given what this opening week has produced, it cannot be entirely dismissed. The teams most affected right now are those carrying suspended players into critical matches. South Africa, Qatar, Paraguay, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Belgium, each of them navigating the knockout picture with one fewer option than they started with. For Belgium specifically, Noé's dismissal against Iran, a 10-man finish to a match they needed to win, could define whether they advance. For Paraguay, Almiron's ban means their next game against Australia goes ahead without one of their best players. The 2026 World Cup has 48 teams, 104 matches, and a disciplinary situation that is escalating with every round of games. By the time the trophy is lifted in New Jersey on July 19th, the red card record from this tournament could be something people are talking about for years. 8 red cards in 10 days. Double the combined total of 2 entire World Cups. 6 straight reds out of 8 dismissals. A new rule claiming its first victim. A squad size change that has shifted the risk calculation for every defender in the tournament. The 2026 World Cup is the biggest ever staged. It is also, right now, the most explosive. The group stage continues. More matches. More pressure. More moments where a defender has to make a split-second call in the penalty area. The referees are watching. The VAR room is watching. And the red card tally is still climbing. Stay subscribed for complete coverage as the 2026 World Cup continues.